On the channel, I put up a poll to determine some of the future content, both horror related, but more with auteur related projects, as well as Halloween, the film franchise. So please go there and cast your vote. So far, Freddy Krueger and the Nightmare on Elm Street series is winning. So the house cleaning out of the way, let us get to the main topic. And it's actually twofold. We've gotten some new images from two classic franchises, both Halloween and Hellraiser, but it has some mixed news attached to them. So with Michael, it's pretty fascinating. So it does seem we get a confirmed kill. It seems pretty graphic. But is this Michael or is this a copycat? I'm going to do a theory video onto itself, but it's a very fascinating image. And we're finally getting some images related to Hellraiser, which is going to be released on Hulu a week before Halloween ends. And it's pretty fascinating stuff. Now, they've definitely reimagined a lot of the classic mythology. So some people may not go for this. It's a new Pinhead, technically, and even a new Cenobite, never ever created before. It's going to be in the film. It's called Mask. So I think it looks pretty good and promising, but I'm not here to persuade anybody on, per se, either one. I'm just here to get into the behind-the-scenes drama for both of them, good and bad. So let's get to Halloween first, and then we'll do Hellraiser. So Green has acknowledged that they're still playing with the ending of Halloween Ends.
Said that the ending of Halloween is very much in flux. And so, directly from David Gordon Green, he says it changes every day. In theory, the picture is locked, but this morning I called the editor and said, what if we do this one thing? I speak with John Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis regularly about it. It's exciting, uncertain, satisfying, and sad. I've enjoyed the ride, but it's probably time to get off. I think we're going to go out with a bang. David Gordon Green also said, if our second film was free-for-all, violent chaos, this is a more intimate, atmospheric conclusion.
And some people have gone a little berserk, saying this is insane. How could you still not know what the ending is? This is giving them a lot of doubts about Halloween Ends. Now, I have to say, I do have a lot of doubts about Halloween Ends, whether it will even be a good film or coherent or make sense or whatever. But I don't think this particular bit of news or confession means that much, because this is just normal Hollywood stuff. And this is going to be relevant when we get to Hellraiser. But having several different endings is normal. Almost everyone does it. Even very strong auteurs like Quentin Tarantino, Steven Spielberg, even Stanley Kubrick. Yes, even they have alternate endings. They have different ways they might end the project. It's not something we can debate. It is factual. We can see scripts now and different concept art for different ideas for ending a film. It does happen. It happens with small films. It happens with big films. But it's a normal part of doing any kind of film. You will have alternate ideas for the ending. So I'm not panicking necessarily that Green admits, like, yeah, we still don't quite know what the ending is. I mean, it's a little concerning, but it is part of the normal Hollywood process. Good or bad, you may not like that, but this itself is not alarming news. Now, which ending they're going to go with probably is alarming, because they have promised it's going to be kind of a twisty ending. Some people will not like it. Some people will be very upset at it. Some people may find it laughable. They want to make a kind of risky ending. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but definitely a part of the audience will not like it. I think that's fine in principle if he wants to be very artistic, but the problem is, whatever we think about the trilogy, I don't think it's been as artistic as it's been sold. I think Green is a good director. I don't have any doubts. He is a talented person, but is he a carpenter, auteur, artist? That I have more doubts on. That leads us into the Hellraiser Hulu version. Now, he's not behind that, but there are multiple Hellraiser projects. The Hulu project is coming to us in October 7. But there is another version of Hellraiser being developed by HBO, and Green is a part of that. As far as I know, he's actually a big part of it. He's supposed to be a producer, but there have been no updates. In fact, there have been no updates for almost a year. The last time I heard there was an update where he did an interview on this was in October of 2021, which is quite a long time. Even in terms of Hollywood, yes, things take time to happen, but and there's a lot of fluctuation about what is happening. When he did the interview in October, he said Clive Barker recently joined the project. For those who don't know, Hellraiser, like a lot of these other horror films, have sort of been in contention legally. As far as I know, Clive Barker has gotten back some of the rights, and only some of the rights. He doesn't have full control of Hellraiser, as far as I know, but he has some of the rights back to Hellraiser, so that's why he can do the work on Hulu. But what he can exactly do or not do is not clear. Apparently, they're still litigating it. So that may be part of the reason we're not hearing anything about Hellraiser or HBO. We're not seeing any images. We're not hearing about casting. We're not hearing about any scripts. They just say they're developing things and they've hired people and they're supposed to be doing something and pitching ideas, but we have no idea what it is. Like zero. We have like zero information. And Green is a part of this, and he's already signed up to do The Exorcist. So if he's finishing up Halloween Ends and still debating the ending with Blumhouse, and he's about to do The Exorcist, what time does he have to do the Hellraiser project? And he apparently doesn't even know if Clive Barker is a part of it because he says, well, I haven't really talked to him. I'm not a hardcore fan. So yeah, we don't quite know where we are. We're just starting the project. Now, they've been developing this for a while, so HBO has had Hellraiser for a few years, but nothing's happening. Now, I want to stress I'm not trying to make Green out to be a villain or a corporate hack or anything like that. I don't know him. I don't have any official connection to him. So I don't like him. I don't dislike him. But that's pretty alarming news because some Hellraiser fans do not like what they're going to do with the Hulu version. I see that there are promising signs because Clive approves of it. The images look fine to me. It looks like a new version that may work. So I'm positive about it, but I know a lot of Hellraiser fans, and I joined them. I prefer the classic version. I prefer Doug Bradley do it. I prefer they go back to the first couple films, but that may not be possible legally. So HBO is an alternative, but HBO, as everyone knows, is kind of in a state of chaos with the DCEU. Are they going to bring back the Snyderverse? They're cutting a lot of projects. Are they going to continue with Dune? Is Legendary going to stay with Dune at Warner Brothers? There's a lot of controversy now with HBO, what they're up to, what are they going to keep, what they're not going to keep. If you want more on that, I do that on my fantasy channel where I cover Dune and Game of Thrones and Rings of Power. But basically, it's very chaotic. So we don't quite know what they're up to, but they are doing Hellraiser. So if you don't like the Hulu version, there should be an alternative. But again, the more and more this takes time, the more unlikely it's ever going to happen. So it seems to me, and this is just me guessing, but from my research on how Hollywood projects happen, I probably guess he just signed on to the project. He is a fan of the first film, but basically it's a business thing. And I'm going to guess in a couple years he's going to acknowledge, yeah, I'm not really attached to that anymore. I'm going to hand that over to someone else. We had meetings, but nothing really happened. And you're going to have to ask somebody else about this. Now, again, I'm not blaming him. That's the Hollywood system. But again, if you're going to be attached to a project, I would hope that you're going to pursue it with a lot more passion. And he acknowledges, yeah, I still got to do some homework. Got to look at the other films. Got to do more research on this. It's a good paycheck probably for him developing the project. But if you're not that into it, why did you bother doing it in the first place? Some people are really invested in Hellraiser, and I think we want to take it a little bit more seriously. And if they're not going to do anything, let's just move on. Like Hellraiser is a popular enough franchise. So if you don't like the Hulu version, other people will do other things with Hellraiser. But yeah, it's kind of disappointing that he seems to just have done it as a business thing. He doesn't really care about Hellraiser. So if you don't like the Hulu version, I'm sure some people are interested in a different version that may be more in keeping with the original 80s film. But that may not be happening for quite a while. So I'm not here to lie to you guys. I'm trying to do as much good and bad news as far as accuracy. And this feels like it is a business thing. Maybe it will happen, maybe it will not. I'm not saying embrace the Hulu version. If you don't like this version, that's fine. I'm not going to force you to like anything. But I'm going to have to tell you the sad news. If you do want a different version of Hellraiser, it may happen, but it may not happen for a lot of years. And Green signed on to this, so he is responsible for not doing more to make this happen. Again, hopefully he's using the time to give us a good ending for Halloween Ends, but it is a little frustrating if he signed on to do Hellraiser. They're not doing more, because really at this point we got zero. We have nothing, no movement on the HBO version of Hellraiser.